Hello and welcome to the Soulful Conversations series, my animal mediumship conversations. And today I'd love to share the story of Ben. My name's Annie Bourke and I'll just share my screen with you so that I can share Ben's story. So for those of you who haven't met me before, my name's Annie Bourke. I've been an animal communicator and an animal medium for over 12 years now. So it means I have telepathic conversations with animals who are living or in spirit. And telepathic communication is how animals communicate with each other within their own species and between species, whether they're domestic or wild. And they've taught me that when they pass over, although their physical body no longer exists, their soul endures, so that we can always connect with them. When I have a conversation with an animal in spirit, I'm connecting with the energy frequency of that soul, and they continue to exist, so we can always connect with them. We're never truly separated. So although they're on the spiritual plane and we're on the physical plane, through telepathic communication, we can still have a conversation with them and maintain our soul and heart connections with them. So I think that's really important for bereaved animal parents to understand, that although we are grieving and our animal is grieving on the other side, we can connect with them and have a conversation, and that can bring a lot of peace and peace of mind, getting answers to our questions. So sometimes animal parents aren't there when their animal passes away and they don't have a diagnosis, or they're second guessing themselves. Was it the right time for their animal to pass? Did they make the right end of life decisions? Is their animal okay with the decisions they made? So all of these questions can be plaguing people. And if your animal passed away years ago and you've been thinking these questions for years, it's an opportunity to now connect with your animal and get your questions answered. And it's also helpful for our animals in spirit because they've been grieving on the other side, and having this mediumship conversation gives them the opportunity to answer your questions and to pass on their messages of love and gratitude, but also their guidance. I've discovered in more recent conversations the deepest spiritual purpose to animals, and a lot of them are here to be our guides, and they've got important information that they can share with us. So having these conversations gives them their voice, and they have an opportunity to pass on their messages for you. So Ben is one of the few clients I actually got to meet in person. Most of my work is done online and I connect with animals through photographs, but I actually met Ben. And just a very beautiful, gentle soul, very loving. Unfortunately, had a number of health conditions which deteriorated quite quickly. But he had a very profound love for his mum. We discovered in conversations that he's actually had past lives with his mum as well, which is why they both feel that connection so strongly. He also had a wonderful sense of humour. And at one stage, he'd had to have a procedure and he had to have some dressings strapped onto around his chest and abdomen. And he told us he was like a trussed up turkey, which provided a lot of entertainment at the time, which was a relief because the situation was quite dire with his prognosis. So he knew he wasn't well, but he was able to make jokes and make fun of himself just to make other people feel better and relax. He loved walking around the property, even though it was exhausting for him, and even just getting up and down the stairs in and out of the house was a struggle for him as well, but he just loved being outside in nature. And I did suggest to Mum to take a lot of photos and videos of him and with him, so that when he passed and when she was ready to look at those, that she would have some lovely memories of him. I know it really helped my grief journey when I was ready to start looking back at videos and photos, and I found videos I didn't even remember taking. So it was such a joy to see my animals alive and well and interacting. So it is important to create those memories with them. Now, Mum and Ben knew that his time was getting closer, so Mum asked me to have a conversation with him and find out what his end-of-life choices were. So it's interesting that animals have specific ideas about what they want done at end of life. So whether they want to be cremated, whether they want to be buried, whether they want a specific kind of funeral urn, whether they want anything in the urn with their ashes or near their ashes, whether they want to be buried in the garden and have flowers around them. There's lots of different options. So it was an opportunity to connect with him and find out what he wanted to do before time, so that gave Mum time to make preparations for him. He wanted to be cremated, and he wanted to be in an urn, and he wanted to have a green turquoise crystal with his ashes. Now, interestingly, green turquoise does have a lot of metaphysical healing properties, but it can also support a sense of calmness and courage. And they're things that he particularly demonstrated. So it was quite fitting that he picked that crystal to be with his ashes. And he knew that he'd actually stayed longer than he should because he really wanted to stay with his mum as long as absolutely possible. But he was aware that his body was deteriorating very fast and he just couldn't keep on going. So he was aware that it was his time to pass, and Mum arranged for the vet to come to the house so that he could pass away outside under the trees in one of his favourite places. And then after Ben passed away, I had a conversation with him again just to check that his soul had transitioned safely and to get some more of Mum's questions answered. And it's so hard when we have to say goodbye to our animals, and particularly if we have to assist them in transitioning. But we know that they're suffering, they're in pain with some of the conditions that they've got. And so it's actually an act of love to help them pass when it's their time to pass. And Ben really appreciated getting that assistance. Ben also had a very close bond with his cat brother, Max, and Mum's shared some lovely photos of the two of them together. Ben said that every day that he'd stayed with his mum was such a blessing for him because he really wanted to spend as much time as he could with her. And not long after he passed, he sent me an image, and that's something that animals can do as part of telepathic communication. It's not just verbal conversation. They can actually send little images or little video snippets. And I don't understand yet how they do that, but somehow I end up with pictures or videos in my head. So he sent me an image of him walking around easily, so he was comfortable, and wagging his tail, and he had lots of energy. So it was just really lovely to have that image from him to describe to his mum, to give her some peace of mind as well. So our animals do go through a healing process on the other side, but I think he was showing me that just so that we both knew that he was okay. And then at the end of the conversation, he told me that he was going to come back as a white female Labrador rescue dog. And I find this really fascinating, that if our animals know it's their destiny to return, and not every animal is destined to return in this lifetime, they can tell me what species, what breed, what gender, what colour, and sometimes more specific information on the time frame of their return, or even a specific rescue agency where you might find them. And it's interesting that a lot of rescue animals seem to reincarnate into another rescue animal body because they know that's who their humans are more likely to look for, to welcome home into their heart and their home. And I love this story about the Labrador because the vet sent a sympathy letter to Mum. They knew nothing about the conversation, and on the letter was a white Labrador. So I just love the way the universe works. So Ben actually knew his mum needed time to grieve, and she also needed to get time to get things ready for him to come back, because she'd actually moved house after he passed away, and she needed to get the yard puppy ready for when he came back. And sometimes our animals are aware that we may not be in the right situation for them to return. So if people are in accommodation that doesn't allow pets, or they're not financially able to take on an animal, or if the human's got health issues and they're not able to look after an animal, our animals understand that, and they will wait until the time is right. So Mum is very intuitive, and she'd already worked out which rescue agency she thought that he would appear at, and it was one that she was familiar with. And Ben actually communicated with us during an animal communication mentorship session, and told his mum that he would be back in June 2024, which is around her birthday. So that was exciting and something to look forward to. But sometime later, one of Mum's friends was checking the Animal Rescue's website and saw a picture of this dog, and it made her think of Ben. And so she sent it to Mum, and Mum had a look at it, and she felt the connection too very strongly. And then she sent the photo to me, and I also got confirmation about that being the body that Ben was going to reincarnate into. So I clarified that with him. And so he said that, yes, he had been planning to come back in June, but suddenly this opportunity had happened that he was able to negotiate and swap with this puppy so that he could come back sooner than planned. And he's actually in a white Labrador cross rescue dog body. So since that was 7 months earlier than the expected arrival date, Mum had to hurriedly get things ready at home to welcome him. So getting some fencing work done around the yards, but also getting appropriate food for him and toys and bedding. So she was ready to pick him up. And I actually had the privilege of going with Mum to pick him up and bring him home. I've experienced reincarnation reunions myself when a couple of my animals have reincarnated and come home, but I haven't actually been and witnessed someone meeting their reincarnated animal for the first time. So it was a very special occasion, and I just really appreciated the opportunity to be there and take photos and videos for Mum. And so because of all the trauma they'd been through with losing him when he'd been so unwell, and then all the anticipation of him coming back, it was just incredible to see that connection when they met each other. He asked to be called Duke, and it's interesting, a lot of our animals have chosen their preferred name for when they come back. Sometimes the humans ignore that and call them something different, and the animals are just so grateful to be back that it really doesn't matter. But, if we can call them by their preferred name, they do love that. So he is called Duke, and he explained why he wanted to be called Duke. Now, he and his cat brother Max have renewed their relationship, and you can see them in the bottom two left pictures. In the second picture, Duke had only been home for 2 days, and they were already close together, which was just lovely to see. Now, Duke unfortunately had a poor experience before Mum adopted him, and he's been emotionally scarred by that. And so initially he didn't want to get in the car. He had to be picked up and carried into the car. He was frightened to get in the car. Now he's a completely different dog, and he's so cheeky now that if a car door is left open, he'll go and help himself and jump in, waiting to be driven to the dog park so he can have a play session. So it's just a testament to being patient and supportive and giving lots of love and reassurance to rescue animals. They need to know that they're in their forever home, because some of them have been through several foster homes or different agencies, and they just never feel as though they're finally in a permanent home. They just feel they're somewhere temporary and they're going to have to leave and go somewhere else. So it's just lovely for him to feel so settled now that he is at home. And so he's learned his new routines. He knows now about being driven to the dog park and having playtime. And he gets to meet and play with other dogs on his walks as well as in the park. So he's getting that socialisation as well. He's also an absolute terror with toys. So Mum's had to go and replace a whole lot of his toys because he's absolutely destroyed them. Typical boy, he loves getting dirty, so he's been going on trail walks and understanding the pleasure of jumping in muddy puddles and getting really dirty, but he's not keen on Mum giving him a bath when they get home. But the love that he has for his mum is unmistakable. They've just got this beautiful bond, which is just getting deeper and deeper as he adjusts to being in a new body, and being back again for another lifetime with her. So mediumship sessions can really assist with the grief process, but having an animal conversation session before they pass away can also help a lot, because you can then understand about what their end of life preferences are, and understanding that they know it's their time to leave can ease a lot of emotions like guilt and regret. It's hard because we don't really know what's going on. We don't know, should we have picked up something earlier? Is there something else we could have tried to prolong their quality of life? Lots of different questions, but having that conversation beforehand can make a difference. And then we also know we're honouring their requests by arranging the cremation or burial and the items that they want to have with them. So again, Mum knew from having these conversations that Ben was definitely coming back, and she was able to reconnect with him. And Ben's story is an example that reincarnation plans can change, and our animals are very flexible, and they know if it's their destiny to come back, that they will find a way to come back. They're just so determined that they will work out a way. So if something happens and their options fall through, they will negotiate with another animal to come back. So in this situation, although Ben was planning to come back as a female, the opportunity arose to come back earlier in a male. Now, when Mum had Ben, she adopted him when he was a bit older, so she didn't see him as a puppy. So despite all the things that are happening with him destroying his toys, she's having a lot of fun playing with him and seeing him developing through the puppy stage. And it's interesting that he still managed to come back as the same dog breed that he had planned on coming back as, and the same colour. So how can you connect with your animals in spirit? I do have a few options to help you. First, you can book an animal mediumship conversation like Ben's mum did, and I can ask your animal in spirit the questions that you want to have answered. And as I said earlier, I connect with animals through photographs, so I just need a photograph of your animal showing their face with their eyes open and their name, so I can introduce myself and get their permission to have the conversation, and then the questions that you want me to ask for you. And I have a few different packages of questions for those. I also have an intuitive question session called Answers with Annie, where I get you to give me statements which have a yes or no answer, and I receive intuitive responses to that. So an example could be, Ben is going to reincarnate in this lifetime. And in this case, I would have got a yes response, and I would have been able to tell Mum that. Or if you're interested in learning how to do telepathic communication, you can enroll in my animal communication mentorship program. And I actually work with animal parents one-on-one with 2 of their animals, living domestic animals. And if you don't have 2 animals, then you're welcome to work with some of my cats who have been working with clients. And we have 3 months of fortnightly mentorship sessions where we do a number of exercises with the animals and practice increasingly complex activities to know that you're sending and receiving messages accurately. And it's just amazing because at the end of the program, we also do some mediumship sessions. So you'll be able to connect with some of your animals in spirit. So if you're interested in any of those options, please contact me. My email address is there, chintuitive@bigpond.com, and it will also be in the notes underneath the video. And I'm happy to send you more information about booking those sessions. I also have some other resources to help you. So on my website, which is www.cosmicheartintuitive.com.au, I have 4 free guides for animal parents to download. And so I'd recommend you download the Coping with Pet Loss guide. My podcast is called What Animals Tell Me. And in season 1, episodes 1 and 2, I talk about energetic visits from our animals in spirit, and I talk about animal soul reincarnation. So you're welcome to listen to those free episodes. And you're also welcome to subscribe to my YouTube channel, where I'm currently loading more of my animal mediumship conversations like this one. I've recently published my 3rd book called Crossing the Bridge to Animal Consciousness, and I particularly wrote this book for bereaved animal parents because I wanted people to know that life goes on after that life. It's not just an end of a life when an animal passes away. The souls do endure. So I've written about animal soul journeys and what happens when they pass away, how to cope with animal bereavement. I give some real life examples of energetic visits from our animals in spirit, and then lots of real life stories about animal soul reincarnation. And I've got Ben's conversation included there. He hadn't actually reincarnated by the time I published the book, but the conversation that I had with him is in the book. It's part 2 of the series I'm writing, a trilogy called Bridging Animal Consciousness. It's my life purpose to raise global awareness of the importance of animals. So I want people to understand that animals have souls, they can feel emotions just like we do, and there's no coincidence that your animal is in your life. And it's just fascinating finding out why they're with you, and that's a question people are asking in conversations about why are they with us, and have we had past life connections with them. And then Evolving Hearts and Souls, the Guide to Spiritual Awakening, I wrote because when I had my spiritual awakening, I didn't know that's what was happening. I'd never heard anything about a spiritual awakening, and all of these unusual things were happening, and I had no idea why. So I've written this book to help other people on their spiritual awakening journeys, to help demystify some of the really weird things that you can experience along your journey. So these books can be purchased directly from me in Australia, and you can email me. Or outside Australia, the books are available through your local Amazon online store. So thank you so much for joining me to hear Ben's story today. And it's just an example of how having conversations with our animals towards end of life or after they've passed away can help you coping with preparing for saying goodbye, and then helping coping after they have gone. So if you have animals in spirit that you'd like to connect with, please connect with me. I love enriching animal-human relationships and helping animals and humans connect. So you can email me, and the address will be in the link below the video. So thank you, and please subscribe to my YouTube channel so you can watch more stories about conversations I've had with animals. Thank you.